again for taking the time to do this interview. I'm really excited to learn more about your entire career journey and about the things that you learned along the way, and to hear some advice from you for people who are maybe in school or about to graduate. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here, Jasmine. My name is Jessica Gault. So I graduated from the School of Management from Sony Buffalo. And I have been in the finance industry for my entire career. And so for now, I run the compliance, data analytics, and digital transformation office for Société Générale, which is a French bank for the Americas.
Cool. And I guess, what was your first role after graduation like? Was it also in finance when you just graduated after college?
Yes, that was in finance as well. I was actually very lucky. One of the advisors that I worked for while I was in a graduate school referred me to a position at a hedge fund located in Austin, Texas. Yeah, I know it's very far away from New York City. And so I was the analyst working for the risk function. So my daily job was really to calculate the risk exposure for all the portfolios, all the hedge fund and fund of funds portfolios. That was very exciting time.
Yeah. And now that you are in your current role, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you do on a daily basis? I know it's probably different every day, but what are some of the main tasks that you do?
Oh, so every day is different. And but I do sit in a lot of meetings every day, a lot of meeting time every day. Sometimes we sit in the meetings to update our senior management to ensure that we keep them in the loop in terms of our projects update and where we are with the different deliverables. I also sit in the meetings a lot with my team to ensure that we can analyze the problem together. We can identify the solution together and ensure a very timely and satisfactory project deliverable.
Okay, cool. And what are some important skills you think it would be good to have in the field of finance or technology?
I think overall, the first thing is really the passion. I think the true interest. So in what you do, I really feel the true interest can really bring you very long and very far. And the second one is really the attention to details, because we actually focus on the attentions to details a lot. And I think overall, so if you always have the, just always willing to learn, I think that's the most important skill. I think that will be extremely important throughout the entire career.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And then how would you say is the work-life balance for somebody in your field? Is it long hours and overtime, or is it more like a 9 to 5 schedule?
I will see every day is different, but usually I spend about 10 or 10 plus hours at work. But during the work days, in terms of work-life balance, that sometimes that can be tough. But what I do usually is I try to spend a quality time with my family over the weekends.
Yeah. And I know that there is a lot more technology and data used in banking. Have you seen how it's changed in your experience so far? How has Society General started using more of it, I guess, in its daily activities? Or are there any other trends that you see coming up?
So the banking industry are very similar to the different industries and has been heavily relying on technology and data. And what I can see is actually relying on technology and data more and more. It's just, I really feel that would be the future, would be heavily relying on technology and data. So, so for instance, I remember 20 years ago, where we use a lot of C++ and Java, and etc. artificial, right? So we're still using that, right? So in terms of analytics, we use SAS, we use R, we're still using those coding languages, etc. But right now you can see with the current trend, right? We use the Python a lot.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's what I'm saying for the future. That would be more and more.
Okay. And then are there specific roles in banking that people need to know how to program, or is it more of a software engineer who needs to know programming, or are there other roles in finance that also need to know about programming now?
I think to understand the basic of coding is always a plus, right? That really depends on the roles and the position you'll be working for. But generally speaking, I think it's more about how do you design the problem and how do you design the solution, right? How do you analyze how do you analyze the problem and design the solution? I think that's even more important.
Yeah, for sure. And then what does digital transformation mean in your current role? What are some of the main responsibilities of that?
Oh, that's a great question. So for instance, in my current role, we cover the different models the compliance has been using, right? So to fulfill the different regulatory requirement and the expectation, but in terms of modeling, right? So, but we can look at the different approaches to conduct the model in terms of digital transformation. So we are looking at mainly from two aspects. The first one is really to see, is there any additional or more advanced modeling techniques we'll be able to conduct our models to further enhance the cost and also the operational efficiency? That's number one. Number two is really how we'll be able to transform some of our extremely time-consuming or manual process to be more automated fashion, so they can further enhance our overall efficiencies as well.
Okay. And then was this a role that you wanted to do from the beginning, or was it something that came along later on?
I think it's something came along later on, right? But just if you can see from my background, I have been in the analytics position throughout my entire career, right? So I have been with risk for a long time, but now I'm with compliance analytics. But I will say the underlying, the fundamental skill sets, they are almost the same, right? So basically now we are just applying the same techniques and methodology and the skill set to the different domains to solve different business problems.
Okay, awesome. And then one last question, are there any advice that you give to somebody who's interested in entering this field? Are there any entry-level positions that they should know about, or how to prepare for interviews and things like that?
So that's a great question as well. So in terms of the advice, I will say the passion, right? So because I've been interviewing a lot of candidates for our internship and also the incoming analyst programs as well. So one of the most important aspects we are looking at is really the willing to learn, right? Just to the passion, to the field, right? And the true interest. So on top of that, we look at the different diversified scale and the diversified populations as well. So for speaking of Sasa Digital Rao, we do have an amazing summer internship program, and we also have the junior analyst program as well. If anyone is interested, all the information can be found through our website.
Okay, awesome. And then for preparing for interviews and things like that, how should they best prepare for it? Are there any books or things that you used when you first started out? Or I guess, is it just preparing in terms of some of the stuff that they've done on their resume and things like that?
I would say just be yourself, because usually the people who is going to the person who is going to interview you, right? So usually the person has been interviewed many candidates, right? Just really be yourself. You don't have to be perfect. And because we'll say that it's just the entry level position, what we're looking at is really the person as a whole, right? The just from the different aspects, not just academic, achievement, also the passion, the interest, and what the person wanted to do throughout the career. Just so my advice is really just to be yourself, to be confident about yourself, and be honest through the interview process.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, thank you so much for giving us so much information. And I think that this will be really interesting for somebody to hear. Anybody's interested in banking or applying technology to it. Yeah, thanks again.